Kamala Harris and Donald Trump continue their focus on key battleground states as the US election enters the final straight. Israel has launched strikes on Gaza and Lebanon, killing dozens of people. And in Spain, King Felipe hears frustration and anger from those affected by the flooding in Valencia. And forecasters saying more rain is on the way.
Moldova's pro-EU President Maya Sandu claims a victory in a pivotal election runoff seen as a choice between Europe and Russia. Let's turn to Moldova next, where Maya Sandu has claimed victory in the country's runoff presidential election. It marks her second term in office and a boost for the country's pro-EU aspirations. As she cast her vote on Sunday, President Sandu urged people to protect their independence, warning that thieves wanted to buy Moldovans' votes. Her opponent, backed by the pro-Russian Party of Socialists, had promised a closer relationship with Moscow. Now, a developing story to bring you. At least 10 people have died after a volcano in eastern Indonesia erupted on Monday. That's according to an official speaking to BBC Indonesia. Videos appear to show houses burned and damaged due to the rain of rocks. The volcano is located in the southeastern part of the island of Flores. Reports say lava and rocks spewed 6 kilometers from the mountain's peak. The jailed Vietnamese property tycoon Truong My Lan will appear in court on Monday for the start of an appeal against her death penalty. She was sentenced in April for embezzling more than $12 billion from a bank that caused tens of thousands of people to lose their savings. Bolivia's foreign ministry says supporters of the former president, Evo Morales, are holding at least 200 soldiers hostage. In a statement, the ministry said 3 military units were assaulted on Friday by what it called irregular groups. And the defending Formula One champion Max Verstappen has won a crash-strewn Sao Paulo Grand Prix after starting in 17th position on the grid. The race had to be stopped after 33 laps because of wet conditions. A female Iranian student has been detained by security guards after stripping to her underwear in public at a university in Tehran. A spokesman for the Islamic Azad University has said she'd been found to have a mental disorder. But many social media users in Iran say her actions were more likely a protest against the country's strict dress code. What has happened to her since being detained is unknown. Rana Raimpour is an Iran analyst and a former BBC Persian presenter. She gave her analysis of how the incident is being viewed outside Tehran.
The details of exactly what happened, it's still unclear, and a lot of rumors are going around on social media. But one thing that is clear is how this woman's protest has been received by large parts of the Iranian society. Many believe that this is a very brave act of protest against compulsory hijab. There are reports on social media that suggests that this woman was harassed by the so-called security officers or forces at the university, or a member of Basij, the militia, and because she wasn't wearing a headscarf when she was entering the university, and as a result of that encounter, the member of the Basij tore that woman's clothes, and in protest, she has taken it off. And that doesn't come as a surprise, because the Iranian regime for decades have been suppressing Iranian women, has imposed compulsory hijab on them, and in 2022, we saw a peak of it when a woman was killed while in the custody of the morality police, and the suppression has continued. This is a show of frustration, a show that the Islamic Republic of Iran is refusing to accept.
And before we go, a 3-person Chinese crew has returned to Earth after more than 6 months aboard the Tiangong space station. The capsule containing the astronauts descended to Earth assisted by parachute and touched down intact at a landing site. Ground crews assisted the 3 astronauts through the capsule's latch and onto stretchers ahead of a post-landing medical check. And during their mission, the team completed China's longest spacewalk, totaling more than 8 hours. Beijing says it is on track to send a crewed mission to the moon by 2030.
The Prime Minister announces an extra £75 million to tackle gangs smuggling people across the Channel.
Good morning. Theft on the forecourt. Fuel retailers say petrol thieves are costing them £100 million a year.
Let's have a look at this morning's papers, shall we? We're going to start with the Metro. Rainstorm is their headline as Spain's King Felipe and Queen Letizia were confronted by angry locals As they visited a town in Valencia devastated by the flash floods, there has been anger among residents at a perceived lack of warning and insufficient support from authorities after the disaster, which has claimed the lives of at least 217 people.
The Times leads this morning on the businessman Sir James Dyson's comments describing Chancellor Rachel Reeves' recent budget as spiteful and warning that raising inheritance tax on farms and family businesses, he says, would be the death of entrepreneurship.
And The Guardian has the headline, Partygate scandal was overblown, quoting the new Conservative leader Kemi Badenoch, who said she was going to be honest about what had gone wrong in the party.
Hello, good morning from BBC London. I'm Victoria Cook. TfL says it's now fixed its systems following a cyber attack, and some people can now start to apply for Oyster photo cards again. It says the applications are open for 18+ student cards as well as some other concessions, but it says cards for 60+ and some young travellers will be open in the coming weeks. It says more information is to be released regarding the refunds. TfL systems have been affected for around 2 months now. A 17-year-old boy has been arrested in connection with the attack. Next, the Metropolitan Police have launched an appeal after a 31-year-old artist vanished on Saturday morning in Camden. Several artists and galleries have expressed concern about Sarah Cunningham's disappearance, including the Listen Gallery, where she currently has an exhibition. She was last seen on Jamestown Road around 3 a.m. wearing a black top, black skirt and black Converse trainers. Anyone with information is urged to contact the police. TfL's apologised for the ongoing issues with all the escalators at Cutty Sark Station. It's one of the busiest on the DLR network. Work's underway to repair all 4 as quickly as possible. Extra staff have been deployed to assist passengers, and TfL says the small lift continues to be available to help those who might need it. Now, direct Eurostar trains between Amsterdam and London St Pancras will be reinstated from February. A new, bigger departure terminal will mean passengers will no longer need to undertake passport checks in Brussels.
University tuition fees are going up for the first time in 8 years. They'll rise in England by 3.1% next year, but it's not clear what will happen after that. Heavy rain in Barcelona leaves roads and part of the airport underwater, days after Valencia was devastated by flooding. A British couple are confirmed as being among the hundreds who've died there. Their daughters say they're angry that people weren't warned.
It's too late. Hundreds of people. I'll never understand that. And they need to be held accountable. I'm so angry.
Also on the programme, I'm in Washington on the eve of the presidential election. And it's all about the key swing states in the final few hours of campaigning, with Kamala Harris in Pennsylvania and Donald Trump in North Carolina.
And Quincy Jones, the legendary musician and producer of Michael Jackson's Thriller, has died.
The abhorrent and deceptive killer who dismembered his landlady is jailed for life. The former Scotland rugby captain Stuart Hogg pleads guilty to domestic abuse. remembering a music legend, producer to the Stars, Quincy Jones, who's died at the age of 91. Delivery reveals in some parts of the country it's now delivering more cucumbers than pizzas.
On BBC London, a rise in reported hate crimes on our transport network. We hear from victims and the specialist teams on patrol across the capital, which include homophobic attacks.
So I thought, I've got to report this because I'm fed up of this, fed up of seeing these attacks and fed up of these attacks happening to me.
Our reporter goes out with specialist teams patrolling the transport network, also tonight. How the scale of issues with potentially dangerous cladding could be much bigger than previously thought. We find out what it means for residents here in the capital. Plus,
you've got that just down to a T, so that's perfect, which is fantastic.
coaching tips from Olympic swimmer Tom Dean as our BBC Radio London team take the plunge for this year's Children in Need.
And I'm heading to a secret location on Oxford Street, which is about to look very different indeed.
The City of London Police is seeking to appeal against a court ruling that it must pay £24,000 in compensation to a social worker who was tasered by one of its officers. Edwin Afriyie said he suffered head, back and leg injuries after falling backwards onto the ground and banging his head on a stone ledge in King William Street in April 2018. And Transport for London says it's now fixed its systems following a cyber attack, and some people can now start to apply for Oyster photocards again. It says the applications are open for 18+ student cards as well as some other concessions, but cards for 60+ and some young travellers will open later.